Hey! Welcome to the Doghouse Podcast. I'm Jeff Davis.
I'm Fred Williams.
And this is
Donna Williams.
Thanks for joining us again today. We're going to be covering some topics like funny videos, some important things like lost pets, and how microchips work and don't work.
And some cool ways that you can retrieve your pet if it's ever lost.
And before we start, here's a few words from our sponsor, NPC.
So dogs aren't puppies forever. When they get a little older, it's hard to control their personalities. I've experienced losing my dog, and it's the absolute worst feeling ever. Microchips are only accessed by veterinarians, and so it makes it nearly impossible for regular people to get a hold of them. I feel like MyPetCredentials are the tech of the future. Not only just having a microchip, but also having a QR code. Everyone has a camera phone nowadays. So just by having that, it increases the possibility of finding my lost dog. I never want to experience losing my dog again, but at least I know that MyPetCredentials has me covered.
Before we get started, we're going to kick this thing off right with watching some crazy animal videos.
There's a husky, acting crazy as usual. Yes, so active. Watching these videos of these husky reminds me of all that hair that needs to be demolted because they're double-coated dogs.
What's demolting?
I think it was dematting.
Yeah.
There's a difference between dematting and demolting.
Oh.
Demolting is when you have a double-coated dog like Huskies, Samoyeds, German Shepherds that shed their extra coats.
Yep.
And the dematting is when dogs are like golden doodles, poodles, whose hair gets all knotted and they need to be brushed out.
Yep.
So there's two different texture kind of hair when it comes to different breeds. And you have these Huskies who, especially down south here in Texas, where they're dumping hair all the time. So, before you get a double-coated dog, you need to make sure that you have time to spend brushing it, taking it to the groomers. Huskies, just in particular,
And that can get expensive, right?
very expensive,
Like
so
45 minutes to an hour sometimes on one dog. 3 hours, right?
absolutely, if you do not properly care for it every 4 to 6 weeks, it gets very hot and they need to dump that coat during the summer. And then during the winters when they keep all that insulation, that's what keeps them nice and cool and protected from the weather because they are northern dogs. They're not southern dogs.
And we get a lot of clients come in when they start dumping that coat, right?
Yes, absolutely. Especially here in Texas at 110 degrees these days.
It's not the same as ferminating?
It is, absolutely.
Demolting?
Demolting is just the same thing. It's pulling out that extra undercoat that gets all that extra hair off of them that's stuck to their skin and stuff. So it's a little different between that and dematting.
There you go. All you guys with double-coated dogs and Huskies and Doodles, here's a person to talk to, Donna Williams.
How do you know so much?
Well, I've been in this industry for 30 plus years. I love dogs. I love grooming. I love what I do. I'm very blessed that I'm able to do this on a daily basis, 6-7 days a week. And I have a rescue that, takes in all different breeds and sizes, any size, any breed. And so I try to learn about each one of them, their personalities and their mixtures of what they have so I can understand different breeds and why they act the way they do when they're mixed within, because not all the dogs you find, 90% of them are not purebreds. They are Heinz 57, they're called super mutts, which is just
Super
a mixture
mutt.
of little this
What
and
a
little
term.
that.
Super much. I thought for sure you were going to say because your business partners were so cute.
Yeah.
No, that was not the first thing that came up to my mind, but you guys are dogs, so you guys,
And
you're
then
cute
there's
in your
that.
own way.
I mean, watching these videos are great, but I don't think people understand how high maintenance Huskies are.
Absolutely, they do not. And let me tell you why, is because every breed has a purpose. And when people don't understand the breeds that they get and they bring them home and they all think they're cute and do these videos and think that it's just fun until the dog grows up and he has no interaction and it's not socialized and all these other problems come because these dogs are working dogs and they're kept in a crate or in an apartment. That's not what they're bred for. And then you have all these dogs loose and now you've got stray dogs everywhere. We've got more Huskies in Texas here just alone through my rescue that people have asked me to help take in that I cannot because I'm inundated with so many dogs right now. We have a horrible situation here in the state of Texas. with all the strays and all the homeless dogs we have. It's just ridiculous that this state has this many dogs and we euthanize so many animals. It's just a shame.
Yeah, well, let's talk about your rescue for a second. You know, it's Donna's Love Pet Rescue. And tell us some of the things you're doing with the community, how you're shipping dogs, you know, what your purpose is for your rescue.
Well, for me, it's, you know, animals are just not animals. To me, they're family. And so I always try to make sure that people are knowledgeable before they get a pet. Are you sure you want a pet? Do you want a dog? What kind of dog? What's your lifestyle? Do you have kids? So I ask lots of questions to make sure that my pet that I am adopting out, who's usually socialized, who's been treated right, who's been, you know, to daycare, through training, all sorts of stuff before they are adopted out. And I want to make sure that they're going to the right family, and this family is going to treat them like I would my own dogs. And so it's important to me, you know, working with the community, working with my clients, working with fosters, you know. I don't have enough people in my rescue alone right now to foster, to care for all the dogs that people are asking for help, because there's just so many. It's just not my rescue at Donna's Love Pet Rescue, but there's so many amazing rescues that are just overwhelmed with all the dogs. All the shelters are filled to capacity, I'm filled to capacity. I mean, there's got to be something done out here to help with the spay and neutering, knowledge, education. You know, pets are just not a piece of furniture that you set aside when you're done playing with it. They should be a lifelong, you know, part of the family, and not just thrown out on the streets just because you've moved or, you know, you can't buy a bag of food. These are things that you think you should think about before you even adopt or buy a pet.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you microchip the pets that go out the door in case they're ever lost, found by a stranger. How does that work with your rescue?
So with my rescue, I do microchip, and of course you know, it's associated with Donna's Love Pet Rescue. But I could say all day, every day, to make sure that you register your pet, because if you don't and the dog gets lost, they don't know who to look for. What they do is they find the microchip, have to call the microchip company, figure out who's it's associated with, you know, which batch number this goes to. Then they have to track me down. Then I have to track the previous or the people who adopted the dog.
Even
to
if they
tell
haven't
them.
adopted it out. I mean, if
Yes.
even they come to you, because it happens where people will come in and not register a chip. It comes back to you.
Yes.
You call that person said, well, we didn't keep the dog. We didn't have the heart to come back
Yes.
to you. We gave it to somebody else.
Yes.
And they have no idea who that
Yes,
person is.
yes, absolutely. So it's really important to, you know, make sure that your animal is, number one, spayed and neutered, and number two, that there is some kind of tracking device that you can get your pet home right away. Just in Texas here, in Houston alone, the amount of lost pets that are posted on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on every social media platform, on the news, because the dog was not microchipped, was not registered, or, you know, or they just don't have anything at all, you know, and you've got all these strays, and the chances of you getting your pet back is really a 25%, because you have people who will either keep the dog, they will, if the dog is not registered, you know, they take it to the shelter. If the dog's aggressive, you know, then they euthanize the dog. So there's a lot of factors that goes into making sure that your dog is, you know, has its information with you associated with it, because if not, then you're gonna lose a loved one that just might not make it back home to you.
Yeah, and we know those percentages are low, right?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
we've tried to do things about that to bring those percentages up, and that's called MyPetCredentials. We've created many different ways for pets to be not only registered but located if they are ever lost. You know, we can track a pet by its NPC security number that's created when you create an account on MyPetCredentials. You can use your microchip. You can use a name tag, Fluffy281, doesn't matter what you name your dog. You can use your rabies ID tag that has your rabies number and a phone number on it. So we created several different ways for that. And like you say, City Pound may find a dog that has a rabies tag on or a microchip number, but it's not registered. Well, if it was registered in our system, they could contact the owner immediately. If it wasn't registered, it gives the Good Samaritan the opportunity to say, hey, let me register this dog that has a microchip in the system, where anybody who knows this pet or knows that it's missing can go then and put that microchip number in, and it will tell them how to contact the person who's holding that pet.
Yeah, as long as the dog is in the system and we have all their information, not only is it to find the dog and reconnect it with its owner, but when you find the dog in the system, it has the dog's history. So even if you put a microchip number in a dog and register it, you don't know that the dog is vaccinated if you track the owner down ever. So when you go, let's just say you decided to keep the dog and you go have it revaccinated, that's not good either to over-vaccinate a dog. So in addition to keeping the dog connected to a human and or its profile where you can see a picture of it and its records, that it's been vaccinated and it's been taken care of at some point, right?
Yeah, and we encourage people to register their dogs. If it has a microchip, the only person who can see that microchip is vet when they scan it, right? And we want people to get a collar for your dog that has a microchip on the outside so it can easily be identified by anybody. Hey guys, this next segment we're going to watch is a young lady who lost her dog for an entire year. Thankfully, they were reunited.
I always called him my scaredy dog. His own tail will startle him. Which is why I was the most worried about him out there, because I just knew how scared he must have been. We were in Missouri visiting for the holiday. Walter was taken out by a family member on a leash. He just slipped his collar and he ran.
Making lots of flyers.
We stayed for 2 extra weeks. We just had an outpour of people trying to help find him. And we heard from the girls at Lost Cause.
We are a nonprofit, just a passion for us, but it just kind of escalated out of control. We just hunted and hunted nonstop, looking for tracks, looking for something that might indicate there's a dog hanging in that area. Just kind of vanished after a while. Nobody saw him, nothing. Months and months went by. It was about 1:15 at night.
We were ecstatic. I was already on a plane, flew into St. Louis around 9 o'clock at night. He didn't show up the first night, and all we ever caught was
amazing.
raccoons, stray cats, and possums.
That doesn't look like him.
But the second night, he showed up.
It's a good possum.
They got really lucky.
Oh, he took
See
it.
of him stealing the bowl and running off with it. At that point, I was like, that's my boy. That's something he would do for sure. At 11:55.
So nobody ever found him. He just.
That's a good trapper right there,
13
okay?
days
Because
short of a year on Friday the 13th.
it just doesn't happen overnight.
Whimpering.
And we all just started crying.
And he's been on the streets for how long?
Almost a year.
This is such an amazing story because
Right.
90% of the time, this is not
He just snapped.
The
what
end result,
happens.
yeah.
Yeah, this
He
is
was a
not the
baby.
end
Covered in
result.
fleas, smelling
He's a beautiful
horrible,
dog.
just going in between her legs, jumping up and giving her kisses.
He was just a baby too,
Really
huh?
special. There's Walter.
And
And here's the problem when these dogs get loose, that they're afraid because they're so used to their owners
First
that
leg of the journey, it was just me and him.
they just don't
And then
trust everybody that comes to them.
we would know how to-
And not all the time that people out here are kind to these animals that are lost or on the streets or homeless. And so they have reservations approaching people. And sometimes when you're out here, you have packs of dogs
He was going back
that,
and forth.
because of their pack mentality, they do what they do to survive out in the
Okay.
out on the streets and stuff.
Yeah.
So this is such a beautiful story that
Yeah.
she was able to
Like a dream
Absolutely.
come
reunite,
true.
because there are other stories where it took
Just seeing
4
him
to
in our
5
new
years
house,
before
he's
this
never
dog
been
was
before.
reunited with his owner. That was just recently on the news.
Like, just fits in
And,
like our furniture.
It was joys of
He's a
tears
part
for the both of
family,
them.
He's here to stay, that's for sure.
Beautiful.
And most of these cases don't end up that way.
No,
It's
most
just
of these cases are really sad, and they make me really sad that it's preventable. It's preventable that you can register your pet keep it safe. For whatever reason it got lost, if it is scanned with, like you say, MPC, putting in all this information, one platform for all shelters, for all rescues, for all pet owners to go to one platform if they find a dog, to find it instantly compared to going through this loophole of who's it registered, it's not registered, calling the microchip company, the microchip company is not giving out the information, then they got to call the previous owner's changed his number. So it's a big,
Circle.
yes, of going back and forth.
Yeah, nothing's 100%, foolproof, right? But we do come pretty close to solving a huge problem within the industry. But people have to use it, right?
Yes.
It's easy to register. We have children, so there's no way I'm not taking my child and making sure they have all their vaccinations before school, registering them, and knowing where they are at all times, right? Or hey, what's my plan if something happens, right? Because we keep our eye on our children. We do the same thing for our dogs, and we just have to educate people that hey, your first priority is to make sure your dog can be identified in case it is ever loose in a storm. The fence falls down. There's a hurricane, there's a tornado, and you get displaced from family members. How are you going to get that dog back? How are you going to have someone who finds the dog help that dog get back to you? And we have a lot on our platform that really does that through MyPetCredentials.
Yeah, my dogs actually use our collars, and obviously, and a handful of times, my dogs like to creep out of the fence when the gate's not open or what have you. And a handful of times, neighbors that I didn't know found one of our dogs and snapped our QR code on our collar, put their information in there, and it texts my wife and I to let us know that somebody found our dog. Now my wife's in the house and the dog was actually in our front yard. So I can call my wife and say he's there. There was an instance when we had new neighbors a block away that actually took our dog home, put it in a kennel, then clicked the QR code on the collar, then got a hold of us, and we were able to walk around the corner and get him. And even in this situation with the dog that was gone for a year, they said that a family member walked the dog and it got off the leash.
That happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
Leash, it's just not tight enough.
And it doesn't. And if the dog had the collar on with the identifier on, it's easy if somebody found it. But even if they had not had a collar on and they had a microchip and the dog was registered with us, they could have put that microchip in our website and found that dog and contacted the owner immediately. So there's multiple layers of security, and there has to be multiple layers of security to make sure that you get your dog back.
Yeah, the platform that we've all created it works on both ends, right? It works on the proper end where the customer is to first register your pet, and it also works on the back end that, hey, I didn't know about your platform, I never registered my dog, it had a microchip, or it even had a name collar on at the time it was lost. Someone on that end that found that dog can actually register that name or register that microchip. Therefore, the person who lost the dog can then go in and put that existing information in and be connected to the person that has their dog. So we kind of get it from both angles, which I think is great, and we still have a long ways to go. I'm sure both of you guys would agree, but it's a great lost and found piece that really, really just helps anybody who has a microchip, rabies, ID tag, just a name tag to just get registered to be safe.
Yeah, even if you're fostering a dog, you can input a foster dog into your MPC profile, put all of their information, their microchip number and what have you. When the dog is adopted out, you can transfer that ownership to a new owner, which will transfer all those records and the collar data, all the security information, all of its feeding instructions and grooming profiles and everything that goes with that dog, you can transfer ownership. Same with rescues. If a rescue organization wants to catalog their dogs in MyPetCredentials, they can do that. And every time somebody adopts a dog out, they can just transfer the ownership to the owner.
How amazing would that be if all the rescues and all the shelters got on one platform? There is no more paper trail anymore. There's not papers being lost, shifted because they're in transport, because everything's in the computer. And once they arrive, it's just with the click of a button, here it is. Now, because I transfer dogs all over the United States, because here in Texas, we've just got so many that we have to ship them out of state because we've just got so many dogs that need help. And here, we just can't help everybody. So we ask on our neighboring states to help take in some of our animals. And so we have to send manila envelopes, and we hope that the paper makes it with the dog, you know? So to have that and to say, hey, he's en route to your rescue, and I've just transferred all his stuff along with his medical record, along with, you know, pictures, training, and all this stuff that is attached to him or her.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
before we wrap up today, Donna, can you tell us, our subscribers specifically, how they can get in touch with Donna's Love Pet Rescue, how they can get involved, how they can be a foster?
Oh, absolutely. I have a website. It's donnaslovepetrescue.org. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram. So I have a phone number you can call. I have an email. It's 832-236-6122, or donna@dlpr.org. Any help, any assistance, fostering, food, donations. We have so much that is needed to help all these animals here in Texas. So anything would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, for sure. You know, first of all, thank you for everything you do with your rescue, and a big shout out to all the other rescues out there. It is
Absolutely.
a daunting task that you women and men go through to help these animals get new homes, not only new homes, but the proper home, which is great. So thanks for all of that. Hopefully you get a good response from this video.
I sure hope so. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. And remember, we're pet lovers just like you.
And if you find yourself in any trouble, you can always find us
In the doghouse.